Turing, Ken Thompson, and von Neumann are two computers what Adam Smith, John Keynes, and Milton Friedman are to economics. So Adam Smith brought the modern concept of economics into our world, what is called today classical. But in his case, it was beginning to be the modern economical world, the one we see today. When you see a ship with hundreds of or thousands of containers floating from the sea, from Hong Kong to New York, then this ship is the incarnation of the thoughts of Adam Smith of free economics, of free trading. He brought all these concepts into our world, the GDP, the free trading, just like Turing brought the modern concept of the global computer, the Turing complete computer, into our world. John Keynes took this abstract idea of economics of trading, which is very successful, and brought it a little bit down to earth, just like von Neumann took this idea and brought it a little bit more down to earth with the decoupling of the CPU and the memory. So what John Keynes did, or when you hear the term the Keynesian economics, is to say that in case of a recession or a downturn in the demand, then it's okay to push a little bit the economics. For example, to print money, or that the government would increase the demand. In the classical economics, we said that the way to take an economic from a recession back to working properly is to let the production increase. In the Keynesian economics, we try to increase the demand itself with some kind of inflation, with some kind of printed money. You basically take the courage and give it a little push. The problem with it is that the government don't stop pushing and they don't know how to push. But Keynesian economics said that it's okay in the case of a recession to give money to person A to dig a hole and to give money to person B to fill in this hole, so that they won't do anything productive, but this would increase demand because these two guys would now have more money to spend, and in this way we are pushing economics. So it's not that John Keynes, in the Keynesian economics, said that this is the ultimate solution and this is how we would behave. We can tend to think that John Keynes, although not explicitly saying this, that he said that this is only a push to the economics. It has, as everything in computers, its trade-offs. If you let, for example, the economics to get back on its ground, just like you let a kid get back on its ground and continue moving, then you let the economics be more healthy, as opposed to in the Keynesian solution, where you print money, where you do the push to the economics, you are helping something, and there is the risk that you would help it too much. But Keynes says, hey, let's compromise, let's trigger the economics back into ground, and we all know the problem is that government don't stop this triggering, they print too much, they don't know how to spend this. But if we give someone some money to buy a pizza, then the pizza man can buy the tomatoes, and this will trigger the whole cycle. And then the government should step back from this. This is the stimulus. If we are in a depression, we are creating some kind of a stimulus to the demand. Milton Friedman took this even a step further, and we will discuss it in a different lecture. But in this lecture, we described the abstract classical economics from the beginning and mainly focused on the Keynesian economical solution to recession, which we see these days. We see it in 2008, we see it in the COVID-19, we see the government are printing money, but we need to remember that This is not like the utopian solution that Keynes said. If you have a recession, print money, and stimulus the demand. We don't tend to think that this was really what he thought. He was a smart man. He lived in the Great Depression. We tend to think that what he actually meant is to trigger the economics. And as any on-call top-tier software engineer, he was aware of the trade-offs. He was aware that if you push the economics, push the demands, it's very similar to writing less tests and getting things faster to production, but you will get a deficit out of it. You might be losing control over the economics and over the quality of the software. So we need to take all this into perspectives. Sometimes it's better to leave the economics to get back on its feet, just like you let a child get back on its feet. He would learn from it. He would increase the production. It's healthy. It's not always healthy when you're sick to take paracetamol. Sometimes you need to let your body to handle the disease in order to learn from it. But Keynesian said it's okay actually to do this push, to do this triggering. And we see this trigger with all its disadvantages that the government just lose controls over this triggering. They push too much money and it's practically losing control. So, but the basic idea is that it's okay from time to time to trigger the economics back into the cycle, back into the cycles. And sometimes it might be okay also not to trigger them and to let them get over the crisis by themselves. So this was a brief introduction into the Keynesian economical view.